Shalom, shalom, shalom. I'm Brother Daniel. You know what I'm saying? For all praises, honor, and glory to the Father, Yahweh, by Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh. Double honors to the elders, and peace and serenity to the 144 brothers out there pushing this truth. With that being said, shalom. So I'm sitting here reading this article about National Review. White House praying for the president is now problematic, by Jonathan S. Tobin, written June 6, 2019. So President Trump, over this past week, President Trump stands on stage as Pastor David Plott prays for him at a McLean Bible Church in Vienna, Virginia, June 2nd, 2019. Now, attacks on the Virginia pastor for praying for visiting Trump illustrate the toxic nature of our political culture. When Donald Trump, showed up at McLean Bible Church in Vienna, Virginia, last Sunday on his way back from a round of golf, he put the congregation's pastor in a bind. When the White House asked David Plott to pray for the president, he knew he was in trouble no matter what he did. A refusal would have been considered an insult to the presidency as well as a counter to the demand of his faith, and going through the prayer would be construed by some as an endorsement of Trump, which it is. It is an endorsement. The word says to stand up for righteousness. You're not standing up for righteousness now. You could have prayed for him. But you should have prayed for the right things to sit here in corrections and what Donald Trump really needs, not what he asked it, and he used you as a PR stunt. Right? Moving along. Plott's choice was obvious. He prayed for Trump. But the response, both from some of Plott's congregates as well as a host of critics in the media and elsewhere, was intense. The mere act of asking the Almighty to grant wisdom to Trump was considered both offensive and an act of unwholesome partisanship, as if wishing the president well co-opted the pastor, the church, and all its congregants in some nefarious scheme. It does. Because there's a bunch of wicked who don't want to, they're probably they're just false or justified. Whether he reads the Bible and he knows the word, and he's teaching against the laws, and then he's acting against the laws, another sinner would come and ask him to pray for him. So it's two hypocrites praying out in public. One should know better not to be praying in public. The other is using it as a PR stunt. I mean, the man Trump changed his hair for one time and then changed it right back in the day. That's just how his feelings are. So to pray for a man like that, hey, you're not wrong for praying for the brother, but it doesn't help the situation if you're not touching real gems of the law that he's breaking and teaching him the law. So it's a completely blasphemous act. You're just doing it for signs and for attention. Right? Moving on. Within days, Platt was expressing remorse for his action, though he didn't apologize, as some outlets inaccurately reported. He did acknowledge that some of his congregants were hurt by the prayer. He went on to say, "This weighs heavy on my heart. I love every member of this church, and I only want to lead us with God's word in a way that transcends political party and positions, heals the hurts of racial division and injustice, and honors every man, woman made in the image of the Most High." That's a very beautiful statement to say there. But in order to transcend political parties and positions and heal the hurt of racial division and injustice, that means you got to stand up for something. You got to stand up for what you believe. You definitely got to stand up for the Most High's law. And if you're not doing that, it just makes you a hypocrite. So you're not really helping anyone. You're deceiving. Moving on. It wasn't just Trump's opponents that caused this problem. A few days before Trump's surprise appearance in church, Franklin Graham, the son of famous evangelist Billy Graham and a leading preacher and faith spokesman in his own right, called for Sunday, June 2nd, to be a special day of prayer for President Trump. Graham asked that the churchgoers pray for God to help Trump to protect him from his enemies. If that is most selfish prayer and request of the Most High, I'm certain the Most High turned his head to that request, especially when there's just reason for the harm that he's caused to people and everybody. That's why he's so afraid of his enemies, because he doesn't want to face his what he's done in his past and probably present. So he turned a situation of a mass murder and a prayer for those that died in the mass murder specifically onto himself. This is a selfish act right there. He has calamity coming ahead of him. No matter which way you want to look at it, it ain't going to be uphill. It's all downhill for Trump and for this pastor. Moving on, Graham is one of Trump's leading supporters, and there's little question that his request had partisan motivations. Religious opponents of the president responded with denunciations of attempts to hijack the Christian Sabbath. According to Peter Weiner, the head of the Ethics and Public Policy Center, Graham's stunt discredited Christian witness. So he's basically portraying himself as God. Trump is over here trying to hijack the Christian Sabbath, which is Sunday, and turn it into, something else. I mean, this dude gotta be the reincarnation of the damn devil. To sit here and claim that Sunday is now, it needs to be praising him. This dude is acting as if he's God. And is discrediting the entire Christian Catholic community because they know their blasphemy on this, and the Most High is allowing it now because of the simple fact that, hey, you guys want to believe in it and trust in him. You wanted your white savior, here's your white savior. And it ain't helping them, not one little bit. It's just proving their hypocrisy everywhere. Right? Moving on. But even if Pray for Trump had political motivations, there is nothing out of the ordinary about what Graham was advocating. No, there's nothing out of the ordinary. It's hardly surprising that anything related to Trump would cause controversy. The nation is polarized between Trump supporters and detractors, with each side reading, listening, and watching different sets of media outlets and drawing widely different conclusions from the events. Now, I can agree to that when it says there's a bunch of doctrines being taught and everybody's watching, but what all should matter is, what does the Most High say? What does God say? What does Yahweh say? What does he say about these situations? What does he say to do and how to handle these situations? And so the conclusion also, you shouldn't forget that the Most High has his say in these things as well. Moving on. But the fact that merely the act of congregation praying for the country's leader is now viewed as a controversial demonstrates two things that are far more troubling than even the most bitter disagreement about politics or cultural issues. Yeah, it exposes you. It exposes Esau for who they are. First of all, anger about Trump has transcended politics. True that. The wild talk heard during the 2016 campaign about Trump being a clear and present danger to American liberty wasn't just partisan hyperbole. The conviction that his behavior is not merely offensive, but indicative, Salakia, of a desire to overturn democratic norms is so deep that his political foes consider him the moral equivalent of an outlaw against whom any tactic is permissible. 2.5 years of normative conservative governance by Trump, albeit accompanied by sometimes intemperate tweets, have not changed many minds about that. No, they haven't. As we also see, when administration officials or congressional supporters are hounded out of public eating places by those who feel it is an outrage to share space with a political opponent, any act of civility toward Trump or respect for the office he occupies is apparently too much to ask of those who oppose him. That's because the white man's turned politics into religion, into thinking process, and it's completely against the word. They want to claim it's part of the word, but it's completely opposite of the word. So it obviously is going to transcend across religious. These are people's habits. Just because you labeled it politics or religion, it all has the same actions. It all has the same dealings. And these are what the belief people think. And this is all you're doing is mixing up the categorization of what people think and where their mind frame is at when it comes to religion and politics are namely the same as how you function, how you tend to function in society, how you tend to function with your family, and how you tend to function with the Most High. So obviously these what the white so-called white man calls politics and religion have the same nature. Right? Moving on. As we also see when administration officials or congressional supporters are hounded out of public meetings in places by those who feel it is an outrage to share space with a political opponent, any act of civility towards Trump or respect for the office it occupies is apparently too much to ask of those who oppose him. Right? The second problem is that the prayer controversy is more proof of the way politics has replaced religion for many Americans. Very true statement. More people now claim they would oppose their children marrying someone from a different political party than say they would oppose the spouse who practiced a different religion. But they're the same thing. If you sit here and say, I don't want my child marrying somebody of a Republican or a Democratic or independent mindset, it's the same thing as saying, I would not let my child marry a Muslim or Jewish or a Hindu or Buddhist because of the mindset. It's the same thing, right? This is not only evidence of the secularization of society, it shows the faith in a particular set of political attitudes and disgust for those who have different views has become a replacement for religion in the lives of many Americans. So it's basically saying that they've relabeled it as politics, but it's really religion. It's the same thing. There's no difference. It's the way you think and usually the color of your skin that identifies you. Now, they use the same method to mix in and say, oh, we're all Christians, we're all the same people. That's Christianity talk, but Christians are also quick to sit here and say, oh, well, you're Muslim, or you're Hindu, or you're Buddhist, or you're an Israelite. You got different mind thinkings and sets, and this, that, and the third. That's why people identify themselves as whether they're Christian, Hindu, Muslim. It's because of the belief system that they believe in, which also goes into politics. Right? This is very problematic since the American political system and democracy itself, even in times of greatest divisions, requires a conscience about the need to agree, to disagree, to accept with good grace democratically arrived at outcomes that some citizens opposed, and religious institutions have a key role to play. Most churches, synagogues, mosques, and religious centers of every conceivable denomination routinely offer prayers for the government and elected officials of the United States. That's true not only of those institutions that eagerly embrace the opportunity to demonstrate loyalty to Trump, but also of those denominations whose members are overwhelmingly hostile to the president, but they liberal, Presbyterian, or Reconstructionist Jews. So he's saying that, yeah, even across political ties, religious ties are also formed. You can see the same mindsets that are still going on. It doesn't change. Now all they've done is reverted back to The same political ties or your same religious ties. You can't change those from anybody's world. They're going to tie into each other. Who you religiously relate to and who you politically relate to are on the same basis. It's just that some people don't realize that they cross flesh. They cross the skin of our color. They cross the mindsets. And that's the problem that's bringing up. And now it's a righteous mindset of listening to the law and those others who are listening to these many different documentations and doctrines out there, right? Such prayers are published in prayer books from which the faithful read during services. One such is one written by Louis Ginsburg in 1928, included in many of those used by conservative Judaism. See that? It was written by Louis Ginsburg in 1928. For one, that's a heathen. For two, to talk to writing a prayer specifically to give to the Most High. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you got people following you and you're sitting there saying, okay, well, this is a heathen who's never even spoke to God. I never dealt with him. So why are you following the commandments of man rather than the commandments of the Most High? But keep going. Our God and God of our ancestors accept with mercy our prayer for our land and its government. Pour out your blessings on this land, on its president, judges, officers, and officials who work faithfully for the public good. Teach them from the laws of your Torah, enlighten them with the rules of your justice, so that peace, tranquility, happiness, and freedom will never depart from our land. Now, there's really nothing really is bad with this prayer, other than me seeing our ancestors in our prayer kind of sounds kind of selfish, in a sense, and not giving its due to the Most High and saying that, okay, well, we're all the same people, God made us all one and this, that, and the third, and then saying our ancestors. Well, your ancestors were murderers, liars, and cheaters, so that says a lot. Now, teach them the laws of your Torah. That's gonna eventually. That's the Most High's whole basis. So be careful what you wish for. So this prayer can stand. It's nearly not that bad, but I don't think they realize the blowback because they're not following the Torah now, and it goes against their thoughts and their process. So they're ultimately asking for their own demise. Moving on, the Catholics pray. Send your spirit to touch the hearts of our nation's leaders. Open their minds to great worth of human life and the responsibilities that accompany human freedom. Remind your people that true happiness is rooted in seeking and doing your will. This has so many mistakes in it. Send your spirit to touch the hearts of your nation's leader, which sounds selfish to only go to the nation leaders and not the poor, which shows they don't know the word. Open your minds to great worth of human life sounds kind of alienistic that you would even ask for the great worth of human life, that if you cared for the poor, you would realize the human life. But that just shows you more of their demonic thinking and responsibilities accompany human freedom. If you listen to the Most High in the beginning, He gave you human freedom. So, this is one of those confusing Christian things I've lost sight on anymore to even try to touch with, because it's just folly. Moving on, such prayers recognize that good citizens should understand that all elected leaders deserve our help as well as our prayers. Moreover, they are also in the grand tradition of national days of prayers such as those that Abraham Lincoln proclaimed. So they want us to glorify the rich man, and the Most High tells us not to glorify the rich man. So there's just the more demonic thinking going on here, right? But above and beyond the collapse of religious conscience is the sheer hypocrisy of the condemnation of those who follow Graham's call for divine intervention of Trump's behalf. For all the complaints above prayers for the president turning churches into partisan battlefields, there is also nothing new about using the house of worship to rally the faithful beyond specific causes and sometimes even specific politicians. Very true. People are using their religion to sit here and actually connect with certain people. So Um, but the fact of the matter is, using these buildings to pull people in is going to go downhill. The Most High is going to raise the standard against these people, and this standard is not going to be inside buildings. It's going to be out in the public, and that's the problem for them. Moving on, African American churches are well known for venues for electioneering, with invitations to speak being a not so subtle endorsement. Various denominations have also taken stands on issues such as illegal immigration that place them on one side of a harsh political divide, whether or not they declare their houses of worship to be sanctuaries for those on the run from the law. Good mention. It's a very well spoken because now you got basically churches in the prison who Christianity teaches, God forgives everything. You can keep doing your sin and God will forgive you. No, 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 no. And so you have these false churches that are built up of people who don't want to own up to their own faults and iniquities. And that's what it's asking for, is that you do own up to your faults and iniquities. So these are places that have deal with those types of congregations who teach their people you can sin, God forgives everything, you don't have to keep the law, none of that. These ain't nothing but trap houses, snares of the devil. Whether it's black or white, it don't matter. There is no pigment color, no color of the skin anymore. Now it's the spirit of a man and a woman. That really matters. Right? Send from these perspectives the notion that there is anything out of the ordinary in Graham's campaign is absurd. More to point, it's difficult to argue that those who believe in the power of the prayer shouldn't pray that those leaders with whom they disagree should get divine inspiration or enlightenment. Now, what you pray for, that's your business. But ultimately, this brother that prayed for Trump should have been praying to his iniquity and for him to learn for his iniquity, to see his iniquity, to see himself, to open his eyes, to be more righteous, and things of that nature. This guy is asking the Most High for control and power. That was simply what it was, a PR stunt to look and seem righteous. That's all it's about right now with the devil, is to make sure everybody looks and seems to look righteous. Now it's just a mask they're throwing on. It's righteousness. Well, righteousness is proved through deeds, not words. Moving on. It is only in the context of country that has lost the ability to credit our political opponents with good motives that it's possible to object to prayers for the government of the president. In such circumstances, prayers are needed not so much for Trump as for the voters. Yeah, but what Trump doesn't understand is that the Most High is on the poor and protecting the poor and those voters. So what they see and wake up to is going to be for them and them alone, not for the president. So let's go to Matthew chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse 1. And take heed that ye do not your alms before men, to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. You see that? Most High says, look, I want you to do that in a closed room. I want you to do that in your house. I want you to do that with your family. I want you to do that quiet to yourself where nobody is paying attention. Not to be out in the public and saying, oh, we're doing public prayers. I prayed for this and I prayed for that. You notice the so-called white man likes to use name dropping. I did this and I did that and I went to school here and I prayed for this person and I did this. They like to reiterate their doings when they should realize that their doings would speak for itself. Those people that they've helped or they've done good by will be willing to speak out for them, not to coerce them and say, yeah, remember I did this for you? Remember I did that for you? Just to use it as in a way to influence you to back them or help them in some way. Right? Verse 2. Therefore, when thou doest thy alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. You see that? The Most High said, look, man, y'all need to stop doing these alms and don't sound no trumpet. Trump came in and said he sent a man ahead to let the church know that he was on his way. Why do you need to send somebody ahead to make a prayer? He could pray in his car. He could play in his, plane. He could play in his one of those rooms in his White House and Mar-a-Lago and all those places he has. He can ask for prayer there. He can pray there for himself. He doesn't need somebody else to pray for you. The Most High is asking for his own words, but he can't do it for himself. That's why he's asking. You could tell this is a movement for, publicity stunt. So let's go to Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 20, and let's go to verse 6. Right? This is Proverbs chapter 20, verse 6. Most men will proclaim every one his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find? You see that? Most men will proclaim every one his own goodness. You know what I'm saying? He'll proclaim his own, what he's done. You know what I mean? Most times he doesn't even need to proclaim it. His goodness will proclaim itself. People will stand up for him. You don't need to name drop and event drop every little thing that you've done. I've done this, I've done that, No. The people you've done these things for will sit here and speak up for you. Their words are more than enough. Let the reviews speak for themselves. If that person, gives you a bad report or a good report, if a person gives you a bad report and has never met you, it just makes them, it shows them a liar or a hypocrite. So let your own report stand for itself, right? Let's jump to Luke. Let's go to Luke 6 and 24. Right? This is Luke chapter 6, verse 24. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. You see that? Most I say, but for you rich people, man, that already got your money, and you over here trying to pray and do this and do that, and you're praying for more riches and wealth, and don't care about the poor, don't want to share none of your money, and you're selfish, you've got your consolation. There's nothing uphill after this life. There's nothing uphill probably for the next few lives if you even resurrected. Because you sat here and proved that you ain't nothing but a taker. So the Most High is only going to use your spirit anytime he needs you to take or to, punish others for, living the same life you've been living. You've been just learned to do it better than others. You've learned to hustle and scam and lie and cheat to get your way. And so when that spirit rebirths itself into the earth, there's stronger ones of it. There's a heresy of that. To sit here and say, oh, well, there's Beelzebub, and then there's, Satan, and there's Lucifer. There's a high ranking, but then you got your low ranks who try to pull it, and they don't do it right, or they don't care all the way, and they can't put it fully together. We're all breakups of these spirits. So he says, those rich man, you've got what you came for, man. There is nothing else that I need to give you or that you need to request. So let's go back to Matthew chapter 6, verse 3. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to sit here and keep it in secret to yourself. Not let your friends and let everybody else know what you're doing just to sit here and say, oh, well, I'm righteous. There's no need for that. It just makes you a hypocrite doing them. Verse 4. That thy alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. You see that? So the Most High says, look, man, do that stuff in secret. What you ask for in secret will manifest itself in life. If you keep requesting it and you have your mention and it's something extremely important and it's not vain, I mean, he can know. It's not like he can't offer vain things, but he knows the difference of what you need and what you don't need and what you want and what you don't want and what you can handle. He already knows what you got and what you need. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 25. Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 22. right? So this is Proverbs chapter 25, verse 22. For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and Yahweh shall reward thee. You see that? So when you pray and you pray for forgiveness and you pray towards those that hurt you and you pray towards those that have misled you and this, that, and the third, it's heaping coals of fire onto your enemy. It's heaping coals of fire onto them to sit here and be persecuted for what they've done to you without you being around. It allows calamity to fall upon their head, that those that have plagued you. So he says, for praying, thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and Yahweh shall reward thee. You see what I'm saying? And so it comes back automatically to you. And that is the beauty of prayer. Right? So verse 5. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 5, and when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. Once again, showing you you should not be doing what Trump is doing here, and this pastor in Virginia is doing here, praying out in the public for himself particularly, and changed the whole motive of what the prayer was really about to the massacre of those shot in Virginia, to praying to Trump, to a man for his own mistakes he knows he's doing, or whether he's unknowingly or unknowingly. This dude may have a demon in him the way I see it, because he doesn't acknowledge none of his dealings. Nothing he says, nothing he does he remember, and he remembers, he just blatantly lies. So this guy's a demon praying, so I'm not surprised of the backlash he received because of this. It's not shocking that he got these backlash, right? So let's go to Mark chapter 11. Mark chapter 11, verse 22, right? Mark chapter 11, verse 22 through 26, right? And Yahushua answering saith unto them, have faith in the Most High. So that's a blessing if he's really, sincere. I don't believe Trump is sincere about his faith to the Most High. So, but moving on. Verse 23, for verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. So you got to believe in what you're asking for. This is why it's a warning to those that pray for vain or materialism in their world, because it's not a necessity. It's not something you need. You should be asking for peace. You should be asking for, atonement and forgiveness from those that you may have hurt, for the mistakes, the lies that you may have told, the fornications you may have done, all the ill dealings that you may have cast into the world, whether knowingly or unknowingly. The meaningful or unmeaningful. You didn't mean it, you may have meant it. So these are the things that you should be requesting to the Most High, to ask for forgiveness, that they don't come back on you. That these things, let it be known that, I didn't mean to hurt you back in the day, or I didn't mean I was a different person then, and this, that, and the third. You should be looking to be perfection and blameless in the sight of the Most High, right? Verse 24, therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. So, if you believe that you should have them, meaning you should have the position, meaning you work your tail off to study and work and understand, an aspect or, of society that you want to work in or hobby in, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's knowledge and righteousness. Maybe it's knowledge and wickedness. The Most High will grant those things to you if you believe in them, and he'll find a way for you to figure them out. He'll bless them by sending them to you in a certain way. He'll send somebody in your path. He'll send a person that can teach you and you can follow. Send the information where it may just pop into you in a dream. It may just pop up to you while you're reading. It may pop to you as a sign walking down your daily day. And that's how he sends it to you, to get this information. right? So verse 25, and when you stand praying, forgive if you have aught against any, that your Father also which is in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. You see that? So when your prayer is mainly supposed to be about forgiveness. Forgive those that have hurt you and forgive and ask for forgiveness for those that you've hurt. These are the things that you're supposed to care for. These are the things that the main portion is that the Most High says, ain't no man perfect in his sight. So if no man is perfect, that means we all have some type of iniquity. It could be very small, it could be little, it could be big. We're all different. But we should be asking for forgiveness and acknowledging these things. And now that people are waking up and they're seeing that, look, man, it's a demon, it's demonic to see somebody who rejects their own words or rejects their own actions when you can physically record them, whether it's a video recording or, speech recording. These people have evidence of you said something before that you're now changing your mind, or you did something before and that you said you didn't do. So it's making you and calling you out as a liar. We're living in a technology age where things are being recorded, and so that our people ourselves, not just the Most High, but we can see for ourselves of calling out hypocrites and those that lie, man. Right? Verse 26. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father, which is in heaven, forgive your trespasses. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody should be begging for forgiveness. But through this forgiveness, is even a wicked man will realize your own sins will be exposed. There is no way out of this. So if Trump wants to ask for forgiveness and this, that, and the third, hey, all praises. Maybe it'll start pushing this country in a different direction. Maybe, he'll wake up and start acknowledging his faults. I highly disagree that that'll come about coming from that type of pastor who's blinded himself in the truth. Then I really don't see nothing really coming out of this of his continuing more calamity for Trump and for this pastor. So moving on, let's go to Luke chapter 18 and verse 9. Right? So this is Luke chapter 18, verse 9. And he spoke this parable unto a certain which trusted in themselves, that they were righteous and despised others. So this is something that was spoken, a parable unto these people who trust in themselves and not the Most High. So this is specifically towards that pastor and to Trump. Verse 10, 2 men went up into the temple to pray, and one a Pharisee and the other a publican, right? 2 different brothers went into the church, went into a temple, building made by hands, right? That the Most High said, I'm not in, right? Verse 11, the Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, and the Most High I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as the publican. So the Pharisees went in, and he said to the Most High, he said, thank you for not making me as wicked as these other men. Thank you for not making me like an extortioner or unjust or adulterers or these publicans who tell lies and deceive. Thank you for, he's asking, he's saying thank you. He got his head raised to the sky, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, thank you for not making me this wicked, that wicked, right? Verse 12, I fast twice in a week, and I give tithes of all that I possess. Now he's stating that he basically says, I don't eat, sometimes twice a week. I go a day or two without eating. And I give what I have, I give my tithes, I give things that I can give to the homeless of my possessions. Now, whether that's true or not, that's on the Most High. That's between him and the Most High. But if it's true, then it just stands as representation of that brother, of that Pharisee. So that's good for him. And the publican, right, verse 13, and the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much as his eyes to heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner. So his spirit convicted him, man. Same thing as Trump. You see Trump standing in this picture. He's got his head down. He's not looking up at the Most High. He's looking down. That's a conviction. You're convicted of your own spirit. You're thinking it within yourself. You know what's true and what's not true. You know the lies you've been telling. You know you're a sinner. You're convicted. And so you will not even lift your head up to the Most High. Even if you were embarrassed, truly embarrassed of your sins, you would lift your head and say, I'm a sinner, I'm sorry, and help and ask the Most High to help me get out of this, to fix me, to send somebody to help me. But he didn't. He just admits I'm a sinner and I'm going to keep going and doing what I'm doing. Right? Verse 14. I tell you this, man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalted himself shall be abased, and he that humbled himself shall be exalted. You see that? So the Most High said, look, man, those people that are all uppity and rich and they can't be told nothing, sodomites think they can't be told nothing, that uppity, high-minded spirit, they're going to be abased. They're going to be left to sleep. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to be left confused in all their ways. Because this system helps those that have that mindset. And when this system's destroyed, they ain't going to have nobody else to help them with their wicked ways. Right? And he says, the humbleth himself, he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. So those brothers that don't want much, they care about just having a small house. I just want my wife. Just most of brothers just say one wives, but a lot of brothers sit here and say, that if they know the prophecy of Isaiah, that 7 wives shall cleave to one man. It's a beautiful thing, but some brothers that are in the truth, no, that's probably drama. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing if you happen to have a couple women that listen to each other and not arguing and it's not drama in the house. But generally, most righteous brothers just will be happy with one solid sister, with his wife. They're having kids. They got a family farm. They're doing their thing. They're having fun. They're enjoying family things, man. That's what a humble brother would seek. He doesn't want all that. He just wants happiness in his home. He wants happiness when he comes home. That's it. Right? Moving on. Verse 15. And they brought unto him also infants, that he would touch them. But when his disciples saw it, they rebuked him. Right? But Yahweh said, called unto him, and said, suffer little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of the Most High. You see that? So the Most High says, look, man, for one, I need you adults to be like children, meaning you got to speak truth. No matter it's bad or good, it is what it is. Say it, speak it. You need to be like these children. Be happy for just having life. Enjoy life for what it is. Whatever gifted to you. Don't take advantage of it. Oh, I don't want to be at the park. Oh, I don't want to be at the river. I don't want to be at the club, or I don't want to be here and I don't want to be there. Take it for the advantage of what it is. I'm here. Let's make the best of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just for such is the kingdom of the Most High. Right? Verse 17. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of the Most High as a little child, shall in no wise enter therein. And that's what he's saying, as a little child, the mentality of a little child. You know what I'm saying? Speak truth. It is what it is. Mommy, what's that? Daddy, what's that? I don't know what it is. I'm just saying it for what it is. No disrespect. But I'm being righteous and I'm telling truth. Right? So let's finish this off and go back to Matthew 6:6. Right? Matthew chapter 6, verse 6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. You see that? So the Most High said, look, man, just go into your small room and just pray to me. And what you do in secret, I will reward thee openly. I don't reward those that sit here and pray out in public. I don't reward those that pray out in synagogues, because they do it for attention. They do it to make people to think that they're seen a certain way. They're doing it for those to see him in a certain light. Right? Verse 7. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. They won't be heard because they're reciting things over and over and over and over again, and they're not really speaking from the heart. and what they're really saying and what they're looking for and they're not speaking from the heart, and the Most High can see that. You're not serious. If you're not serious, why should I take you serious? You know what I'm saying? You're out here praying in the public and you got a script written to the pastor to say specific things. You're not speaking from the heart. You're speaking from what you want. Right? Verse 8. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. You see that? So the Most High says, I already know what you need, but what you really need, you probably won't speak on, which is probably correction. And these are the things that you should be speaking on if you're a humble, righteous brother or sister, and the Most High loves you. Then that means you keep your commandments, you speak good truth, you keep truth and honesty within your gates. And so when you pray, you're praying for the things that are meaningful, that's going on with your life. And so the Most High tries to abide and sit here and answer those things the best that he can, if it's best for you. Sometimes you may ask for something, and that's how he knows you're off. You may ask for something you really don't need and not get it, get upset that you don't get it, because the Most High said you never needed it. So we got a lot going on. Let's finish this off and go to Luke. Luke chapter 12, verse 30. Right? Luke chapter 12, verse 30. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. You see that? So a house, a roof over your head, it's already been thought of. And as we speak, as people lose their homes and rich people get upset about losing their mansions and their big houses, those that have been mistreated in, false accusation and thrown into jails for no just reason are coming out and they're building little tiny homes. And so the Most High's already got putting in thoughts into our people to rectify this situation. We're already moving into the kingdom, whether you like it or not. Most High is already moving these things, and he says those justified will be justified. So we got brothers that are coming out of jail that have not getting no recompense for their pain and suffering, and they come out and they make a small home because why? Once you got a federal charge on your name, you never can get out of it. You're stuck in a cycle of not finding work, not having no money, not having anybody to trust you. You're cast out. You're a second-class citizen at that point. So you make another way for yourself, and then you start to help those that also been helped. And so brothers that are doing this are actually helping. And that this world right now in Babylon wants to scold those that help and advocates and righteous people. So brothers and sisters, don't follow the ways of these heathens. Do not follow these ways of the heathens. That's what the lesson is here. Don't follow these ways of these heathens and praying in public. No, pray to yourself at home. You don't need the prayer in public. The Most High is going to turn your head away. Pray in secret, and the Most High will hear you. With that being said, you know what I'm saying? Yahweh Ba'Hashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shah. Barakatah to all my brothers and sisters out there. Shalom.